Turned to Southern California to spoil the return of Oral Hershiser to the Los Angeles Dodgers and the big leagues. And the Dodgers are not happy to see him having returned one more day. Today, Andy Bennis will try to win in L.A. for the first time since 1989. Father's Day weekend in San Diego, and this kid could out-hit the other kid right at the moment. Griff Jr. at 229 in the middle of June. The Padres and the Reds ahead from Fox Parks. It's the CDW pregame show. Keith Olbermann reporting. There has not been a lot going on in baseball yet today on this Saturday, but what has occurred has been instructive. 2 American League games in progress as we take you up towards National League time. The early highlights from Cleveland and Detroit. And there's something about the ballpark in Detroit not having surrendered a lot of home runs. Russell Branyan hits one to the picnic section. The longest home run ever in that ballpark, and it's 4-0 Cleveland. Grand slam. Then in the 5th, off Hideo Nomo, Roberto Alomar hit his 9th. Later on, Higginson would hit one for Detroit. And it is 6-5 in the 8th. The Indians have had 22 pitchers this season. They added Jamie Navarro and Brian Williams. They already have 24. The record for a season is 29. Texas had lost 9 straight. 5 of those games, they've only scored 2 runs or less. By the second, they doubled that. 4-0. Rodriguez plays Clayton at Alicea. Texas 4-zip as they turn to Matt Parasho out of the bullpen to come in and start. And he pitched beautifully. Shutout ball through 7, trying to stop the 9-game losing streak. Even if you hate home runs.
Game of the week.
Hall of Famers lock up today here on a sun-splashed afternoon in San Diego as the Cincinnati Reds from the National League Central Division take on the Padres from the National League West. And a pleasant good afternoon to you. Alongside Steve Lyons, I'm Thom Brennaman. Welcome to Baseball on Fox. Clearly, Steve, the Cincinnati Reds have been one of the real disappointments in baseball so far this year. They won 96 games last year. They bring in Ken Griffey Jr. What now?
Well, the situation right now is Barry Larkin has to step it up as the leader of this ball club. He was rejuvenated when Ken Griffey Jr. signed with this team. After the 96 wins last year, everyone thought they were going to be a much better club, but they also lost some production with Greg Vaughn left. This is a team now, after losing 9 out of the last 10, they've got to pull it up by their bootstraps, have some vocal leadership on this club, and get it done. This is the time last year when they started to kick it into gear.
As far as San Diego is concerned, meanwhile, you talk about a team beat up. They've used 38 different players so far this season. Well, what happens when that's the case? Generally, a guy gets a chance to play who hasn't had that chance before. You know all about this from your career, and here in San Diego, it's Eric Owens.
Players beg for the chance that Eric Owens is getting right now. Used to be a Cincinnati product. Comes over here, gets the opportunity to play right now, hitting 100 points higher than his career average. He's the kind of guy that likes to go out there, get dirty, throw himself around the field, and right now he's the bright spot on this ball club.
Bruce Bochy told us yesterday he's the most popular Padres player with the fans here in San Diego. When we return, the first pitch, Tony Gwynn and the Padres taking on Barry Larkin and the Reds. You're watching Baseball on Fox. Welcome back to San Diego for the second game of this 3-game weekend series between the Reds and the Padres. Jack McKeon, the National League's Manager of the Year a season ago, and his Reds limp in, having lost 9 of their last 10. Pokey Reese will lead things off at second. Barry Larkin at short, and Ken Griffey Jr. finally getting on track over the last couple of weeks is in center. Dante Bichette in right, Dimitri Young in left, Sean Casey at first. A latter third of Aaron Boone, Benito Santiago, the former Padre, as is the starting pitcher, left-hander Ron Malone. And on the mound for the Padres, an impressive 23-year-old right-hander, Adam Eaton.
And one of the reasons why he's so impressive is because making this his 4th start in the major leagues, the poise that he has out there is unbelievable when you talk to the manager of this club. You look where he was acquired in the Andy Ashby deal. Relies on the curve for his strikeouts, but he has to throw that fastball to set up the breaking pitches and throw strikes with the fastball.
First pitch to Pokey Reese is down low, ball 1, and we are underway. Only the 4th career start this afternoon for young Adam Eaton. 3 starts removed from Double-A Mobile, Alabama. There's a strike. Reese went off last night's game with a home run. The first time a Reds leadoff man has done that this season. For Reese, it was the 2nd time he's done it in his major league career. Reese at .281, 4 home runs, 23 batted in. Very much a threat should he reach base with 17 steals in 19 tries.
We talked in the open about this team needing to spark it up a little bit. Pokey Reese is one of the guys that's even questioning himself as to whether or not he should take a leadership role in this club. He knows he's a young kid, but at the same time, the leaders that they do have on this club, Ken Griffey Jr., Barry Larkin, guys like that, aren't necessarily vocal guys. They lead by example, and Pokey Reese is starting to think about whether or not he should be a guy that steps it up vocally.
2-2 now to Reese. Well, Steve mentioned it was exactly this time a year ago when the Reds had slipped to 5 games back in the National League Central. They lost 2 of 3 to the Twins, swept 3 by the Indians, dropped 2 of 3 to the Mets, and then they took off. Gone swinging is Reese to lead off the ball game. The Padres have had the worst defensive team in all of baseball this season. Al Martin in left, Ruben Rivera in center, Eric Owens filling in for Gwynn in right. Nevin and Damian Jackson have combined for 27 errors on the left side of the infield. Boone and Sprague on the right today with Eaton and Hernandez the batter. Boy, bad defense will just kill you, won't it?
You know, it's pitching and defense is the oldest saying in baseball, is what helps you win ball games. Got the left side of the infield here for the Padres that have really struggled. And Boone as well on the right side, a guy who rarely makes errors, made more errors already this year than he did all of last season.
Larkin checks in at .304, 6 home runs, 24 batted in, and takes down low, 2 balls and no strikes. We were talking about the Reds and when they really kick-started their entire season last year. After they had gone on that skid to fall 5 back, they went on to win 17 of their last 24 leading up to the All-Star break. They were percentage points ahead in the Central by the time that run was through. And then they went 64-38 over their last 102 games. They had a 1-game playoff loss to the Mets in trying to reach a postseason for the first time since 1995. 2-1 to Larkin is blown away.
I think a lot of Reds fans and a lot of people across the country thought that the Reds would throw their gloves out there and win 96 games again this year. Baseball is a game of adjustments, and they had a lot of young players, guys like Pokey Reese, Sean Casey. If you do not adjust, the game will adjust to you, and it's a lot better to be the guy who adjusts rather than to get adjusted.
Right. There's ball 4 to Larkin. So he's a 1-out base runner.
Ken Griffey Jr.
Ken Griffey Jr. checks in at 229. 18 home runs, 47 batted in. Junior's had a very good road trip so far for Cincinnati. A .348 batter. He's knocked in 5 runs. Junior struck out twice here in the game last night. One of them a big one when the bases were loaded, and there's strike 1.
You look at the production numbers of Ken Griffey Jr. with the 18 home runs and the 47 RBIs. Those look normal. But when you look at the scoreboard and you see 229, you're thinking one of those numbers is wrong, and it should be 329.
Fastball up. Well, this is by far and away the lowest batting average Ken Griffey Jr. has had after a 66-game season through his major league career. The prior low was 263. That was all the way back in 95. And here he is nearly 40 points below that. Foul out of play, 1-2.
You can talk all you want about whether or not the Reds are a better team this year than they were last year with the addition of Ken Griffey Jr. Of course, they did lose a lot of production with Greg Vaughn left that team. But if this team is going to make a run, they do need production at the top of the order from guys like Pokey Reese and a guy who said he wants to become more vocal. But this is the man that will take them to where they want to go if they're going to do it, and that's why they brought him here.
Well, when you sit down and fill in the names in this Cincinnati batting order to make out your scoreboard, it is scary when you look at some of the names and some of the track records of some of these players. Talk about Reese and the season he had, the careers of Larkin, Griffey, Dante Bichette. Good-looking young players in Dimitri Young, Sean Casey, 4th in the league in batting last season. Aaron Boone on pace to knock in well over 85 runs this year, but they just haven't been consistent with the bats. That one on the ground to the right side. Boone bobbles, throws, and gets the lead runner for the second out of the inning.
Right fielder, number 9, Thom.
Another good breaking ball right here, and Junior just rolls over. And watch Brett Boone as he kind of gets over there and tries to make the pivot before he actually has that ball. He's so sure-handed he was able to hang on to it. But that's not a typical Brett Boone play, and he's not been typical Brett Boone defensively this year as well for the entire season.
2 down for Dante Bichette, a .270 batter, 10 home runs and 34 runs batted in. 4-1 up and in. Talked about Adam Eaton only being 3 starts removed from a Double-A Mobile franchise where he opened this season before being called up on May the 30th. And boy, has he been impressive. 1 ball and 1 strike. Got a no decision in his last outing Sunday here against Houston. He only allowed 1 run, 4 hits through 7 innings, and posted 5 1-2-3 innings. That one fouled out of play, and it's 1-2 on Dante Bichette.
When you talk to the people in the San Diego organization, they talk about the kid's poise for his youth. Doesn't look like a guy who's only was pitching in Double-A 3 weeks ago, and the key for that is going to be his mechanics. He's got a very well compact delivery and location with his pitches, and so far today he's been able to hit the corners.
And he strikes out Dante Bichette to end the first inning. 2 strikeouts in the opening frame for Eaton. The Padres bat in a scoreless game when we return. Adam Eaton and the Padres, so now they'll come to bat here in the bottom half against left-hander Ron Ballone. Eric Owens will lead things off and play right field. Al Martin, surprising ease in there. He struggled against left-handers, but very good numbers in his career against Cincinnati. Ed Sprague is at first. Bill Nevin is at third. Brett Boone, the second baseman. Carlos Hernandez will bat 6th and catch, with a latter third of Ruben Rivera, Damian Jackson, and Adam Eaton. 6-game winner is Ron Ballone.
For Cincinnati, Ballone with a great record on the road at 3-0. He's 6-3 overall with a 5.58 ERA. That's ugly. You check out the scouting report on Ballone. He throws in the low 90s every once in a while. A lot of times he doesn't throw that hard. An above-average slider, that's what he's going to use to get you out in a tough month of June so far. He needs to turn it around, and he needs to throw the off-speed pitch to make his other pitches effective. Got to throw the ball over the plate and not walk so many guys.
Ballone 39 walks in 69 and a third innings. So here's Owens. What a season he's having. He looks at a strike. Owens at .342, 3 home runs and 24 batted in. He's already stolen 17 bases. Came up originally through the Reds minor league system. In fact, was the American Association AAA Player of the Year just 3 seasons ago. But back then, as a middle infielder, Owens was stuck behind Larkin. He was stuck behind Brett Boone. He was stuck behind Pokey Reese. With those 3 guys in front of you, he became expendable. And now, all of a sudden, he has been terrific for these Padres. In the air, right center field, playable for Bichette. 1 away. The Reds defensively behind Ron Ballone today. Dimitri Young, Dante Bichette, the corner outfielders, with Griffey Jr. in center. Boone and Casey on the corners, and what a middle infield. Larkin and Reese. Larkin, a 3-time Gold Glove winner. Reese won the Gold Glove at second base last year in the battery of Ballone and Santiago. Now Al Martin hitting at .323. And a bouncing ball right at Reese. Has a hard time finding the handle and throws out Martin. Must be something on the right side over there. All of a sudden, Boone juggling, and now Reese juggling. These are 2 of the best in the game.
Same thing with Pokey Reese this year after a tremendous season, and after everybody raved about his defense already this year, made more errors than he had all of last season as well. He's got some sure hands, very quick over there. Former shortstop as well. Those guys that move over to second base. You don't have to just knock it down and throw it. You can knock it down and throw him out at second base. Whereas short, if you knock it down, try to pick it up and throw him out, the guy's safe.
Quickly 2 away against Valone, and here's Ed Sprague. Pitch inside, gets away from Santiago, ball 1. Sprague, when getting the chance to play, has really done a solid job. Overall at .272, 9 home runs, 21 runs batted in. I say get a chance to play. He's only made 18 starts all season, and in those 18 starts, he's been a .353 hitter. They have Ryan Klesko that can play over there at first base, and they just signed him to a long-term deal. People forget Sprague was an all-star last year.
Yep. And he's become a guy who's played mostly against left-handers this year, hitting .381 with 7 homers versus the lefties. Struggled a little bit more against the right-handers, and I think that's why he's in there today.
2-1.
Top hand came off of the bat with the swing right there. Eddie Sprague's got to get some more pine tar on that thing.
Padres have been a hard team to get a true read on this season. They went through a stretch where they won 7 of 9, 11 of 16. Now all of a sudden they've lost 9 of their last 13. That one in the air to right center. Junior on the run makes a play, and that'll end the inning. Valone mows them down in order, and the multi-Gold Glove winning center fielder Ken Griffey Jr. runs this one down. End of 1, no score. From the top half of the second inning, no score in San Diego, and Adam Eaton delivers strike 1 to Dimitri Young. Ken Griffey Jr. ho-hum making a play that a lot of other guys can only hope to make. This one in the shallow left center. Ruben Rivera on the run and drops in among Rivera, Martin, and Jackson. And the Reds have their first hit of the game.
Talk about a ball like that where the ball just drops in here. You watch Ken Griffey Jr. run one down in a gap. This ball kind of in no man's land, but not a whole lot of convergence on this ball as it drops in. The shortstop goes out, can't make the play. Now look at the gap that Ken Griffey Jr. makes up from where he starts out here and where he ends up making that play in that area there when he takes off the kind of ground that he covers. Everyone thinks they got him for his offense. That's a double when anyone else is playing center field out there. 10 Gold Gloves for Ken Griffey Jr. Don't forget about his defense.
Sean Casey showing signs of coming around like Ken Griffey Jr. from an offensive standpoint of late. Casey a couple of hits in the game last night, including a home run. Casey, you may remember, broke his thumb the day prior to opening day. He never went on a rehab assignment, came back, and has really struggled up until about the last 2 weeks. Last night's ball game, Casey off Brian Meadows.
That ball you can see right there, right in his wheelhouse, and you can see the quickness starting to come back. When you have a broken thumb or a broken finger, any kind of injury like that, it takes a long time to come back from, and especially in the cold weather early on in the season, you know, he could tell you when it was going to rain 3 days before it would happen.
There's something wrong. How about that? See, Psycho, the guys we have down here in the truck, that's all they do all week long. They don't work. I don't think they leave their couch. They just come up with things like that.
That's the way I talk all the time.
1-2 on Casey. That one down and in. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Trio of Young, Casey, and then Aaron Boone due up here in the second inning against Adam Eaton. No score in the ball game. Young a short lead over at first in the 2-2. He's taken just off the outside corner.
To go along with that thumb injury, what Sean Casey was doing early on in the season too last year, which made him so successful, was the fact that he used the entire field. He started cheating a little bit more at the plate because of the thumb problem, hold the ball a little bit too much, and in a situation like this with a runner on first base, you'd love to pull a ball over in that hole, but not all the time.
Hard hit one hopper. Jackson can't find the handle. Has enough time to throw out Casey, but they were unable to turn what looked like would be an easy double play.
Third baseman, number 17, Aaron Boone.
Anytime a ball's hit that hard, you can easily get the ball over to second and then still turn it. You can see Jackson drops the ball, still throws Casey out by 4 steps at first base. That's the play, the kind of plays that have been hurting both of these clubs all year long. Infield defense, no error on this play. It's not going to show up in the scoreboard anywhere, but you could have had a double play out of the situation. Instead, now you got a guy on second base.
So now Aaron Boone, and I think everybody, including his brother, who's the second baseman for the Padres, Brett Boone, shocked that Boone's in the lineup after this 3 days ago. Russ Ortiz, a 92-mile-per-hour fastball, hitting Boone on the bill of his helmet. Well, I can't imagine, Steve, anything more horrifying watching a baseball game.
I'll tell you, they say that players generally will get their head out of the way. He must have lost the flight of that ball, because your head is the easiest thing you'll get out of the way, but when you get hit in the head, it's ugly. It's a good thing that it hit the bill of that cap a little bit before it hit him in the face. Also, it would have been a much different story. He would not be playing in a lineup right now, and that's what the helmet looked like at the end of it. That's what my helmets used to look like after my at-bats if I'd strike out.
1-1 on Aaron Boone, who's playing with a broken nose. When that ball hit him, the bill of the helmet came down and broke his nose. It's hard to tell that he does have a couple of black eyes, because he's playing with the black paint under his eyes to guard against the bright sunshine today.
He wouldn't have needed it. Just gone out with the eye black all natural.
He ought to go out to dinner with him. Breaking ball down and away, 2-2. Then nobody would ask him any questions about what happened to you. I mean, you're an LA guy now. You know, you never were before, but you're an LA guy now. And I was just there for the last 4 days. I saw you at Dodger Stadium. Everybody's walking around with sunglasses. So why not get rid of the sunglasses? Just go with the black paint when you go out at night.
Exactly. I have makeup on right now.
Swing and a miss by Boone.
Then you got some eye black going right there. He's a gamer. He's about ready to fall asleep, but he's going to have that eye black inside his eyeball here in a minute.
Ready to
He's not happy.
No, he's not. No, could be a long day for Dan.
He's not listening to him. He's got those headphones
You took
on.
the words right out of my mouth.
Kid's crying. He wants a hot dog.
Boone chased what would have been ball 3. Instead, it's strike 3. So now 2 down, scoreless game. Dimitri Young in scoring position for the former Padres Rookie of the Year back in 1987. Benito Santiago, it's in there as strike. Of course, when Santiago came up through the Padres organization, Jack McKeon, his manager now with the Reds, was the general manager of the Padres. 1-1.
There you look at Benito Dick Arnold there. The only rookie ever to win Rookie of the Year for the Padres. 3 Gold Gloves back there. You look at the offensive records by catchers in the organization. He still holds most of them.
Very late in the season that year, he had the 34-game hitting streak wearing a Padres uniform. Takes that one outside. 2 balls and a strike. Santiago told us last weekend when we had the Cincinnati game in Cleveland that he feels good for the first time in 3 years. You may remember 3 years ago he had that very bad automobile accident which kept him out of the game for an entire season. He said he's never felt right since. He's done a pretty solid job so far backing up Eddie Thom. 3-1.
Tried to revolutionize the way the game was played back there when he was able to throw people out from his knees. Tremendous arm strength. Didn't even bother standing up to throw you out.
Eddie Taubensee sitting down today as Santiago takes ball 4 down low. So Eaton pitching around Santiago a bit there, knowing the pitcher Ron Bologna's in the on-deck circle. I'll tell you about Santiago. He made the single greatest play I have ever seen a catcher make in my life last week. On a play at the plate, catching and then going the other way on the tag to get Roberto Alomar. Very hard to tell the way he picked up that ball. He had a range and short hop a ball to his left and went diving by his right side to get Alomar.
I think when you're catching on a play at the plate, your greatest fear is not the collision. It's not the contact that you're going to have in there. It's being short hopped, because when you're short hopped as a catcher, you have all your concentration goes to catching the ball, and then you start worrying about getting hit, because you can brace yourself for it when you know it's coming. You have to reverse all your concentration into just catching the ball and making a play like that and then getting back to make the tag. Still shows tremendous athletic ability for an advanced age Santiago these days.
0-2 on Ron Balone with 2 on and 2 out here in the second. And a little roller up the third base line. Charging is Nevin. He throws, and that'll end the inning. 1 hit, 2 men left. We played an inning and a half. No score in San Diego. I'd like to remind you, next week on Fox Saturday Baseball, Gary Sheffield and the Dodgers take on Mark McGwire, and the Cardinals or the Giants will battle the Astros. Coverage begins a half hour before game time with This Week in Baseball. Check your local listings for the game and time in your area. No score after an inning and a half. It'll be Nevin, Brett Bone, and Carlos Hernandez against Ron Balone. I'm sure a day like today for Phil Nevin sparks memories back to 1992 during his days at Cal State Fullerton, the MVP of the College World Series. Nevin playing third base. His team a runner-up that year in the College World Series. He was the #1 overall selection leaving Cal State Fullerton back in 1992 for the Astros, but then really bounced around, Steve. He was traded to Detroit 3 years later, Anaheim 2 years after that, and has now clearly found a home in San Diego.
Those College World Series pictures were clearly taken before he discovered McDonald's, too. Same glasses, though. I like Phil Nevin. I got to tell you, he did have some problems in Houston, a little bit of an attitude problem. He didn't fit in very well there, and he's been a catcher over his last couple seasons and learned how to catch at the major league level and did a very serviceable job. Now back to third base where he's struggling a little bit defensively. And here's a guy that once they could find out what he could do offensively, look at the numbers, home runs, the RBIs, the extra base hits, leads the club in all of those categories. They want to build around him a little bit, so they're finding a place for him to play.
Balone going to work the 0-2 way outside. And Nevin will be the first to admit, and I've always admired this in a player, and Steve, you were like this when you played. I remember back when you were playing for the White Sox. I was still doing the Cubs games. I mean, you know, Nevin will say, look, I made mistakes when I was a young man. I got a lot of money. I found myself maybe staying out too late at night. I'm not talking about getting arrested, nothing illegal, anything like that, but when you stay out late at night, it is hard to be ready to do something and do it well the next day. We all know that feeling. And Nevin said, you know, it just took me a little bit of time to realize that if I'm going to succeed in this game, I got to get things straightened out and turned around. He said he's learned so much from Tony Gwynn on how to prepare yourself every day on how to play, and thus, finally, success.
And it is tough. You're talking about a kid who's 21, 22 years old. You're the first pick in the nation. They throw a bunch of cash at you. They rush you to the big leagues, maybe before you're ready to be there. They want you to do well, but you sometimes start thinking that you're a little better than you really are at times, too. And then when you start to struggle, you start looking for reasons to blame. It's rarely yourself. You don't look in the mirror and find that guy at fault very often until you can grow up and mature and see how other players do it and how they get it done the right way. It takes a while. This is a guy that could have been buried in the minor leagues somewhere, and he fought his way back by playing different positions and swinging the bat.
3-2 again to Nevin. Struck him out, and Ron Balone has his first strikeout of the ball game. 4 up, 4 down for the Cincinnati left-hander, who used to be a San Diego Padre.
Take a look at this pitch. He just blows Nevin away. Just a fastball riding outside, up in the zone a little bit. Nevin can't catch up with that one. You see it pull his hips out a little bit, and it's tougher to catch up with a good fastball when you bail at the plate.
Balone and Nevin were never teammates with the San Diego Ball Club. Balone made his debut coming up through the Seattle organization, but then in '95 was traded to the Padres, pitched here for a little more than a year and a half. His first 164 appearances as a major leaguer were as a reliever. as it's 2-0 to Brett Boone. And then because of injuries, it necessitated that Malone move into the Cincinnati starting rotation last year, end up winning 9 games in 22 starts.
I think it was one of the best surprises, especially for the Cincinnati ball club, but in all of baseball, switching from being a reliever to a starter and getting it done the way he did.
Well, Brett Boone has a lot of teammates, of course, from his playing days in Cincinnati. I'm not sure how many of them are friends anymore. He has worn out his former employers. 4 of his 9 home runs this season have come against Cincinnati, 3 of them, and Atlanta, where he spent 1999. Boone hit a big home run in the first inning here last night. Cincinnati got a leadoff home run to begin the game from Pokey Reese. And the Padres struck for 5 runs in the bottom half of the first and went on to win it. Right to Pokey Reese, the man who took Brett Boone's job in Cincinnati.
His home run last night was huge for the ball club, but when he hits home runs, it's not necessarily a good thing. He's hitting 138 in his last 17 games. And he gets awfully big when he hits a home run. Sometimes his biggest problem is that he has too much of a big swing and he thinks that he's a home run hitter. Here's the swing before the shot to Pokey Reese. Look how big he gets for a little guy. Wants to go deep sometimes too often. I know I was that way. When I hit a home run, it was the biggest mistake that I could do, because then the next few times, next 10 at-bats, next 20 at-bats, I thought I was a home run hitter. I hit 19 in my career. That doesn't work out too well.
2 down, and now Carlos Hernandez. He hit a home run as well here last night. Drive to deep right center field. Only his 2nd of the year.
One of the reasons why Brett Boone was let go to Atlanta was because he was stubborn at the plate. Went through long stretches of bad offensive periods because he would get too big. Everyone would say, hey, use the whole field, go the other way. And he can't. He's got a lot of power. There's no question about it. He takes a big hack for a little guy. But sometimes, you know, that gets in your way sometimes.
1-1 pitch. Swing and a miss. Funny, isn't it? Gilby Olveras, a former Padres second baseman, could be accused of the same thing, a big swing for a little guy. But you talked about being stubborn or not being stubborn. Veras clearly has been receptive to making a few changes and thus having a real nice start for Atlanta.
Boone always got away with being in a lineup that could score a lot of runs. There's a lot of production in it. His great defense kept him on the field, and so they would just let him slide. I think there was a lot of comments made about, hey, shorten down, be a number 2 hitter, be the kind of guy that we want you in a lineup to get on base and score runs. You don't have to go out of the yard. We have other guys to do that. He loves to take a big hack.
1-2. Blown away. No score, bottom half of the 2nd inning. The Padres in search of their first base runner. Cincinnati has already left 3 men on through the first 2 innings. Hit hard down the left field line. That bullpen's foul. And that is certainly an area to keep an eye on through the course of any game you watch, whether it be in person if you're here in San Diego, or in today's case back in the Midwest on television. Balls down in those corners are live balls. I mean, they can bounce around where the guys are sitting in the bullpen. As long as they don't touch him, the runner just keeps on moving. You
know that a lot of times the guys down there in the bullpen will have a lot of fun with the baseballs that come down there, whether live or foul. They mess around with some of the fans that are hanging around down there in a blowout type game. I don't think you'll see Trevor Hoffman running over there in a 3-2 game in the 6th to give a hot foot to one of the fans. But
chopper down to Aaron Boone. And he throws out Hernandez to end the inning. We play 2, no score. Back after this word from your local Fox station. As we go to the 3rd, Steve Lyons talked earlier about the Reds needing leadership, such a key part of this season, a key stretch of games coming up. We asked Pokey Reese, was it time for some of the young guys to become a bit more vocal?
Here comes a time where someone has to step up, and I'm not the type that speak out like that, but I'm getting to the point now. Maybe someone needs to do it, and maybe it needs to be me, Aaron Boone, Sean Casey, Dimitri Young, whoever. But it's about that time where someone needs to speak up and start saying a little something.
Well, it remains to be seen whether the youngsters are going to have to do it or whether they're going to get it from the veteran leaders on this ball club, most notably the team captain. You talked about it at the beginning, Steve, Barry Larkin, who will follow Reese here in the Cincinnati third inning.
When you talk about guys like Barry Larkin on the team, I think he has a very good handle on what this team's about and how they're playing. And he said, it's not necessary to have a team meeting just because you're losing games if guys are playing hard and everyone's doing what they're supposed to do. And he says we're getting very comfortable, though, at playing just well enough to lose, and that's not a good thing.
Fly ball into left field. Now Martin comes in a few paces and Reese retires. One away here in the Reds' third. I know a lot of Reds fans remember back to the mid-'80s and the late '80s when Pete Rose was in the manager, when for 4 straight years the Reds finished in second place. They still had the veteran leadership of Dave Parker, who had some outstanding seasons to close his career in his native hometown of Cincinnati. And they had so many terrifically talented young players like Barry Larkin and Eric Davis and Paul O'Neill and Cal Daniels, and the list went on and on and on. The nasty boys in the bullpen, Charlton, Dibble. But the young guys were afraid to step up and become the leaders because they didn't want to step on a veteran's toes, if you will. Steve, you've been in clubhouses where I would imagine a transition period is a tough period when you have the mix of some veterans who are looked up to by young players. In this Reds team, you have, Bichette and Larkin and Griffey. So maybe the youngsters are reluctant to become that vocal. That one lined into right. Owens has got it 2 away. But doesn't there come a time when a young player has to start doing that?
It does, and with the success of the young players on this team that they had last year, guys like Casey and Pokey Reese and Aaron Boone, they now become veterans. Hey, they become veterans a little bit quicker than you would on a different team. They have to stand up for themselves and take a little bit more of a leadership role because the team is counting on them. They're not guys that are in and out of the lineup on their platoon players. These guys play every day, so they're guys that do have to step up. There's some controversy swirling around this team even when it started. You signed King Griffey Jr. People already start talking about, is Jack McKeon going to be around with King Griffey Sr. waiting in the wings to possibly take over?
This ball lifted into deep right center field, and King Griffey Jr. has his 19th home run. And Cincinnati has a 1-0 lead here in the top half of the third. Oh, and by the way, production helps leadership as well, doesn't it?
Well, I'll tell you what, King Griffey, we talked about it earlier. If they turn it around, it will be King Griffey Jr. that leads the charge. This is the pitch out over the plate that King Griffey Jr. can hammer. It's not in the location that Hernandez wanted. He wanted it down and away. You throw a ball that sinks out over the middle of the plate to Jr., he'll let you know you're in the big leagues in a heartbeat.
Well, one to Dante Bichette. Of course, this is the Cap Cure Challenge weekend where the entire major leagues raising money in an effort to research and development, finding a cure for prostate cancer, and that will mean $55,000. That one lined just foul. It could have been another $55 grand for Cap Cure.
That's an excellent cause, and I think Junior's happy to contribute.
Smothered, but had to leave his feet, and Dante Bichette has an infield hit.
Dante Bichette hustling down the line on that play after a couple nights ago where he hit one off the wall. He thought it was a home run, and he only got a single out of it. Watch the play here by Nevin. This is close to being a foul ball. Smothers it over there, but wisely here, a lot of guys would get up and airmail this ball to first base and end up throwing it into the seats, but Nevin, being a former catcher, too, knowing the value of hanging onto a ball when you have to, and he just decides to put it in his back pocket.
2-out rally for the Reds, a solo home run by Griffey Jr. Now an infield hit from Dante Bichette, and now it's Dimitri Young, who had a little flare single into left center field leading off the second inning.
Bichette over there at first base. I don't think he's going anywhere. Remember, Bichette was a 30-30 guy. This would be the time he'd put guys in motion if he could, but Bichette doesn't have the speed that he used to have.
1-0 on Young. And a bouncing ball left side. Nevin cuts it off, flips the boom, and that'll end the inning. 1 run, 2 hits. The big hit produces the first run of the game off the bat of Ken Griffey Jr. Number 19 on the year after 2.5, 1-0 Cincinnati. Bottom half of the third here at Qualcomm Stadium in San Diego. Thom Brennaman, Steve Lyons, and our entire Fox crew. Glad to have you with us. Ken Griffey Jr. providing the game's first run, a solo blast in the top half of this third inning. Ron Balone has been perfect through the first 2. Until perhaps now hit a mild but foul off the bat of Ruben Rivera.
Rivera hits that one a ton, but they're not playing cricket today. You got to hit it between the foul lines. And, you know, how long do you wait for the type of production from a Ruben Rivera that you've expected? The big hype around him when he was in the New York organization, comparing him to Mickey Mantle. Certainly now a few years in his organization, and not the type of production that they're getting out of him that they expected when they got him in the deal.
In fact, Rivera has lost his everyday job in center field to Eric Owen. Getting the start today, Tony Gwynn a day off. Down and away, 3-1 on Rivera.
Malone getting it done on the hill. Normally, not such a great starter. His first 30 pitches in a game, opponents are usually hitting 302 off of him. Today, 0 for 6.
3-1 to Rivera. Swing and a miss, and he does a lot of that. We told you the Reds have lost 9 of their last 10, and a huge reason why. They're starting pitching. In 11 starts since Denny Nagel beat Minnesota on the 3rd of June, 9-3, as Rivera's gone on strike. Cincinnati starters are 0-8 with an ERA of 7.43. Ouch. Clearly, Ron Balone likes being away from Synergy Field. Perfect 3-0 mark and an ERA half of what it is in Cincinnati. The Reds have gone 80 games since their last complete game by a starter. That is second only in the majors to the Padres, who haven't had a complete game since Sterling Hitchcock on the 7th of September last year beat the Pirates, lost to the Pirates 3-2.
I think that also has a lot to do with the fact that Jack McKeon loves his bullpen. He's not afraid to go down to any of those guys down there. He likes having them out on the mound. He's not afraid to go to Williamson, Danny Graves with the wins and the saves. Confidence in your bullpen alleviates a little bit of pressure and stress from your starting pitchers, but a lot of pitchers these days are going back towards the trend of wanting to finish what they start. A guy that you see all the time, Randy Johnson's a guy who loves to finish games. It's nice to see that because we went through a period for a long time where pitchers at the 6th inning were looking over their shoulder to see who the next specialist was coming into the game.
1-2 to Jackson, and it's foul out of play. Well, you and I had a chance to see back-to-back nights in Los Angeles earlier this week. Randy Johnson, who has 5 complete games already this season, he went 8 that night. And then the next night, Kevin Brown got his 4th complete game in 13 starts, a 4-hit shutout to beat Arizona.
I think managers in the game today are finding out how valuable having a great bullpen is to a ball club. At the same time, you like to see your starter want to go as long as he can.
Larkin charging hard from short and throws out the speedy Damian Jackson 2 away. Let's take a look at the Pepsi All-Star top vote getters in the American League. Incidentally, Ivan Rodriguez leads all players in the major leagues with better than 846,000 votes from the fans. Meanwhile, over in the National League, Cincinnati would put 2 starters On Turner Field in Atlanta, Barry Larkin, the shortstop. Ken Griffey Jr. leads all outfielders in the National League in votes. More votes than Sosa or Bond. I always find some of the fan balloting so interesting because the last 4 years, Ken Griffey Jr. has been the leading vote getter in the major leagues. And when a lot of people talk about baseball, who are even just casual fans, they talk about Jr., they talk about McGuire, they talk about Sosa. It's interesting that Sosa does not rank among the top 6 vote getters in all of baseball. Jr. is 4th. Mark McGuire is 5th. The top 3 vote getters in the major leagues, Ivan Rodriguez, Mike Piazza, and Robbie Allen.
Sometimes you look to the responsibility of the fans when they're voting. You notice in the American League with Jermaine Dye being voted in, or if it was over right now, he'd be in. That's nice to see that the fans are standing up and taking notice of a new guy who's playing well. But sometimes you make the All-Star game based on your reputation from past seasons. Wrigley Field, we all know how fun it is to go there, but maybe they're too cool to vote for Sammy.
I guess they are. For Sammy, he's had a tough couple of weeks. In Chicago, there's strike 2 to the pitcher, Adam Eaton, full count. Rumors swirling around. Will Sammy Sosa be traded?
I think he absolutely will get traded, and before the deadline. I think that the little problems that they had there with Don Baylor and himself were a little more damaging than people know, and I don't think that they're going to get over it anytime soon. And coupled with the fact that that team needs to rebuild. They need to get younger. They're an old team right now. They're a long ways from being a playoff caliber team. And if you can get some prospects for Sammy Sosa, I don't think they'll stop right there. I think Henry Rodriguez may end up being traded. The one guy they'll hang on to is Mark Grace because you can't get rid of him. And then when he gets his chance, he'll leave too.
There is ball 4 to the pitcher, Adam Eaton. So Ron Balone goes through 8 position players without allowing a base runner, and then he walks the pitcher with 2 down here in the bottom of the 3rd. So now Eric Owens. Well, you heard a thunderous ovation for Owens as he came to the plate. He's been nicknamed Pigpen here in the area because he plays so hard. He's always dirty.
He's fun to watch. He's a crowd favorite, and he should be, because he comes out here and he plays hard every day. Just watch him hustle, the plays he makes, the way he runs the bases, the way he swings the bat. He's a ball player. He just plays good old country hard ball, and the fans just have a great time with him. And he could be our most popular player now.
Who would have thought that a year and a half ago when this guy was brought in as a non-roster invitee to spring training in Peoria, Arizona?
Well, it's nice when baseball gives players opportunities. You look at the Montreal Expos for years and years and years. Half the stars that are playing for the rest of the league came out of that organization and would never have gotten a chance to play in other organizations that they may have been in.
0-2 on Owens, Eaton over at first. And a fastball is away. Talk about Eric Owens. He has them all fired up here in San Diego. 10th best batting average in the National League. Steve mentioned earlier 100 points better than his career. It should be noted that's in limited playing time. His prior career numbers. 2-2.
What's good about the situation with Adam Eaton on first base. He's an excellent athlete. They talk about that too. You talk about his poise and his mechanics on the mound, but they're not worried about him running the bases over there. A lot of National League teams, you lead off, you get your pitcher on base somehow, and then you're in trouble because he's not going to be able to run the bases. If you hit a gapper right here, Eaton scores on it.
High bouncing ball. Reese charges, and he'll play to first. Throws out Owens to end the inning. 1 man left. We played 3. Griffey and the Reds in front, 1-0. Our conversation yesterday with Bruce Bochy, he was telling us how impressive his young right-hander Adam Eaton has been through his first 3 big league starts.
for a kid that just turned 22, he doesn't have one strength, but he really doesn't have one weakness. I mean, he has a good fastball, good breaking ball and change up. He holds runners well. He fills his position. He does all the little things that help a pitcher wins a ball game. He can handle the bat. He can get a bunt down for you. For a kid, again, that just turned 22, he's pretty impressive.
And impressive today so far. Really the only mistake the pitching made to Ken Griffey Jr. with 2 out and nobody on in the third. The junior hammered into the seats.
What I've been so impressed with so far is his location. He's moving the ball in and out. He's working both sides of the plate. And when you come up as a young pitcher, if you can establish that you can throw to the corners, you will start getting those calls. Everyone talks about the calls that Maddox get. But he's been doing it for a long, long time, and he consistently stays there.
1-2 to Sean Casey. Eaton, a former #1 pick, the 11th selection overall by the Philadelphia Phillies back in 1996. He was part of that Andy Ashby trade, as we told you earlier, during the offseason. That one thrown behind Sean Casey. And it's always the guy you've never heard of if you're just a casual fan that turns out to be the guy that the trade happened for.
Boy, that pitch was that was so far inside, it was outside. Casey didn't know. You see how big his eyes got on that?
Line down to third. Well, right now for a game, Blake, let's go to Keith Olbermann in our Fox Network Center.
Tom, no homers in Detroit. Juan Gonzalez has been a washout. Or in the bottom of the ninth, off Steve Parsay, a sayonara 2-run blast. Tigers win 8-6. Gonzalez is 12th, and the Indians have now fallen 7 games behind the White Sox in the AL Central. Back to you, Tom.
The Indians in that game had a huge lead early on. And Steve, as Keith just said, 7 games behind the White Sox or the Cleveland Indians.
If they don't make up some time, make up with some of that gap while they're injured right now, once they get their team healthy, for like 8 guys on the DL in a 12-day span, they could dig so big a hole that they cannot climb out of it, especially with how well the White Sox are playing.
Here's strike 3 called on the inside corner to Aaron Boone, and he has words for home plate umpire Alfonso Marquez.
Boone doesn't like this call for strike 3. You never like the bat taken out of your hand on the 3rd strike. Check it out. That's a good National League strike right there. Gets all the plate. He doesn't like how low the ball is. Boone's saying, there's no way. I'm too tall for that. Don't read lips, though.
Quickly 2 down. And now the batter, Benito Santiago. Well, Eaton had racked up 4 strikeouts in each of his first 3 major league starts, and that strikeout of Aaron Boone, number 4 already here in the game today. Let's take a look at the freeinternet.com trivia question. Can you name the former World Series MVP on the field today? So we'll give you a little bit of time to think about that. Bouncing ball to the shortstop Jackson, and he has a perfect 4th. After 3.5, Cincinnati leads it 1-0. Next Saturday, it's This Week in Baseball. Join Seattle's all-star shortstop Alex Rodriguez as he talks about the multinational makeup of this year's Mariners. This Week in Baseball, Saturdays on Fox at 12:30 Eastern and Pacific. It's as close to the game as you can get. And then, of course, Steve Lyons with psychoanalysis, and Keith Olbermann will follow This Week in Baseball with the Fox pregame show. How does it feel to get out of the studio for a change? I would imagine pretty good.
Oh, that's great. Anytime you can get to the ballpark and be here in person instead of having to just talk about the highlights or just badmouth the guys in the game that aren't playing so well. You know, you got to take that opportunity.
Bob Brenly is back in his home state of Ohio, attending to some personal matters, and we look forward to seeing Bobby back with us next week when we will make our way to Houston, Texas. Sharp one hopper at Larkin. He bobbles, but has time to throw out Martin. 1 away.
The first baseman, number 4, Ed Spratt.
Been a lot of talk about Barry Larkin and his contract situation with Cincinnati.
You know, soft his hands are out there. We've talked a lot about bad defense on both of these teams. Here's a time where that ball was smoked at him. Stayed very soft with his hands, was able to knock it down, pick it up right in front of him, and throw the guy out.
Larkin is a free agent at the end of his season. And 2 days ago here in San Diego, his agent sat down with the Reds general manager Jim Bowden to start talking about a new long-term contract for Larkin. Cincinnati, born and raised, is Barry Larkin, out of Moeller High School, the same high school, incidentally, that Ken Griffey Jr. attended. Well, there have been some big-time athletes come out of that program. This ball lifted into left field. Dimitri Young waiting, and he's got it 2 away. Well, we asked the question a moment ago, our freeinternet.com trivia question. Can you name the former World Series MVP on the field today?
Now, those guys are pretty tricky down there. I'm thinking he's on the field, but he's not necessarily a player.
There you go, big fella. Alan Trammell, now a San Diego coach, of course, a San Diego native. And he beat his hometown team as the World Series MVP for Detroit back in 1984.
There's Trammell. Looks like he can still play, doesn't he?
I was getting ready to say that about all you guys. I wouldn't say it about Brennaman, but certainly about you and Trammell and Tim Flannery down there at third base for the Padres. All you guys staying lean and mean.
I know I could play at the level that I played at. It just wasn't very good.
Brentley has a philosophy, that he stayed in tip-top physical shape playing for 20 years. There's no sense in continuing to do it, as Junior will run that one down, and that'll end the inning. 1, 2, 3, go the Padres. Valone looks very sharp here today through 4. The Reds lead on a Junior home run, 1-0. Let's see, youngsters enjoying the action here on a beautiful Saturday in San Diego. 1-0 Cincinnati in front of a Ken Griffey Jr. solo home run to the seats in right center field, back in the Reds' third. Look at that little guy.
He's not sure where he is yet, but he's at a ball game.
And then there are these guys. That one hit down the left field line out of play. You were looking down at these fellas in between innings walking around. R-E-D-S.
Big Reds fans, I left 4 passes for my brothers to get in. I just didn't think they were going to dress up.
Guy's a gamer down there. He's walking around with a cast, it looks like, on his ankle, for crying out loud.
Fell down putting his makeup on.
2-2 on Ron Valone. He'll be followed by Pokey Reeson and Barry Larkin. Swing and a miss, and Valone out of there on strikes. That's 5 in the game.
Amazing right there what Eaton did to Valone, knowing that he didn't have to be quite as fine going up against the opposing pitcher. Just pretty much blew him away. Wasn't trying to hit the corners with anything. High fastball with 2 strikes. Ronnie, sit down.
Well, we've been talking a great deal today about the Cincinnati Ball Club, and can they jumpstart what has been a sluggish beginning to this season. 32 up, 33 down. You hear rumblings about a lack of leadership on the ball club as Reese loops one into center. It'll fall in front of Ruben Rivera, a base hit. Reese went on to add that there was a lot more vocal leadership around here last year than so far in 2000.
The emotion from last year, we had guys, when we're doing something wrong, they'd be in your ear, like, let's go, what's going on? This year, I'm speaking for myself. I don't see that stuff. Greg Vaughn was the type, outspoken leader, and he, let's go, guys. We're never out of this game, or win the day, we sweep them. Win the next game, we win the series. So right now, we don't have that.
San Diego fans know all about the leadership of Greg Vaughn, helping this team to the National League pennant back in 1998.
Greg Vaughn's been the same way everywhere he's gone. He's not afraid to stand up and grab a guy and get in his face, one of his teammates, and say, you need to stay with this game. You need to do the things that you've been doing in order for us to win. And that's why I said it was a big thing to let him go. And a lot of people just kind of thought, oh, we're going to get Ken Griffey Jr. on the team. That production will be made up. And yes, it will be, but there are some intangibles that he brought to a ball club that you cannot forget about.
Greg Vaughn, of course, now playing in Tampa Bay.
He's going to have to do some throat shaking down there, too, because they got to get jump started as well.
That ball smoked down to left field by Larkin, but foul. He jumped all over that pitch on the inner half of the plate. But too far in front.
I certainly don't mean to be saying that you need only vocal leaders on your team. I'll tell you what, I take that man on my ball club anytime, any day. Barry Larkin, not a real vocal leader, but he does, as I said before, he has his finger on the pulse of this team. You know, I was very impressed when I found out that he said, you know what, we're losing games right now, but we're in them all and everyone's hustling. There's a difference between when you look around and you know guys aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing and you're losing. Then you can have your team meetings and do it. But don't just have a team meeting just to do it because someone needs to say, hey, we need to play better. We're all professionals. We know we need to play better. Let's find a way to win.
Dave Smith, long-time closer, former All-Star. Spent most of his career with the Houston Astros. Now the pitching coach of these Padres, out to visit with Eaton, who got away with one that last pitch to Larkin. If that ball drops fair, Reese more than likely scores all the way from first. Reese, a huge lead over there at first. He'll draw a throw. Saw the graphic a moment ago. Reese, 17 stolen bases on the year. 12 for his last 12. He's been successful. I think the only guy in the major leagues I've seen this season that takes a bigger lead at first than Reese is Tony Womack of the Diamondbacks.
They both know that with their tremendous speed, sometimes the difference at second base being safe is bang, bang. It's the extra half step you get at first. Pokey Reese somehow found his way into Hawaii before they showed up in San Diego and got those good-looking puka shells to wear for the game today.
Those are nice, aren't they?
Love that.
Well, what a delightful visit we have with Pokey Reese prior to the game yesterday here in San Diego. And there he goes. He got a big-time jump, and Larkin rolls it foul.
I think the timing for Dave Smith to come out and talk to Eaton was perfect. Here's a guy who's a young guy who's making just his fourth start in the major leagues. You see Barry Larkin just rope one down the line on a ball that got away from Eaton. We talked so much about today about how his location has been pinpoint. His mechanics are great, but now you got a guy on first base that can steal a base and will steal a base, and you have a big threat at home plate. You don't want to be first and third in this situation with one out. Get an out, get a ground ball here somehow.
There goes Reese again, swinging a miss. Slow down to second. They're not going to get Reese, who picks up his 18th steal. Larkin is out on strikes. They're 2 away in the inning.
And even that's okay. You got an out in the situation. You know Reese is going to be running, and you don't have a great chance of throwing the guy out. If you can get it out somehow, great pitch right here. You see Reese with the great jump. You can forget about getting him out. Head first slide, no chance. But getting the out at home plate is huge because now you have 2 outs in the inning.
Well, Reese 13 for his last 13, and they apparently are going to pitch to Ken Griffey Jr. You got to wonder about this. With first base open, Dante Bichette in the on-deck circle. Junior homered his last time up.
Now they're going to put him on.
So much for that.
Is there a chance we forgot who was at home plate there for one pitch?
Maybe.
Oops, it's Junior. Maybe we should put him on with the base open. I don't think so.
Well, after what Junior did back in the third inning, why not walk?
That ball was hit so hard. Got out of here so fast. Junior didn't even have time to belittle the fan that's all over him up over the Padre dugout.
See Griffey Jr. leading the National League. 61 walks on the season. Now Bichette will try and make him pay. Fastball up and in. Dante Bichette has struck out swinging, had an infield hit up the third base line his last time up. Bichette only a .231 hitter so far this year with runners in scoring position. He has Reese at second, Griffey Jr. at first.
Bichette, one of those guys, we talked about him hitting all the home runs at home in Coors Field when he played there. He has all 10 of his home runs at home at Synergy Field now, too.
Check swing roller. That is a fair ball, and the inning is over. A hit, 2 men left. Middle of the 5th, and San Diego still 1-0 Cincinnati. Talked about that crucial visit to the mound by pitching coach Dave Smith. Let's listen in on that visit. Our Fox sounds of the game.
If we're going to come inside on him, it's got to be hard in, not something he can swing at. We're getting something soft to swing over it, roll it, get a double play. We got Grip coming up next. I know he's scuffling, but let's get Larkin, okay? But he's not going to beat you hard inside. Later in the count, you can freeze him away. All right? Let's go. Come on, baby. Go.
I just love that conversation right there. Teaching a young pitcher how to stay in the game and where to pitch particular hitters. Come in hard, miss off the plate in to Barry Larkin. Don't leave something hanging out there where you can throw a cookie in there where he puts it in the seats. And then later in that inning, with 2 guys on, did the same thing to Bichette. Jammed him inside, came in his kitchen, got the slow roller to first base. That's a kid that's learning on the job right now and getting it done.
1-0 Cincinnati in front. Brett Boone leading things off in the San Diego 5th inning. Boone playing against his little brother today, the third baseman of the Reds, Aaron Boone. No boondog. Now, what is boondog? I know that's actually a word, right?
I've made a whole career out of boondoggling. Are you kidding me? It's to do trifling, pointless work.
Now, see, that's why, Steve, you jumped in a car earlier this morning. Hard-working guy. Jumped in the car, come all the way down here, and you knew the definition when our crew asked you about what is boondogging.
Exactly right, because, you know, you tend to know the things that you do.
Well, you hope so anyway. You're the hardest working man in television. Here's a 2-2, and it's high and away. I mean, Bob Brennaman and I are talking about you all the time on our Fox Net games about how every time there's a show going on, you are there on TV.
Somehow I find a way to host it or make a guest appearance.
Right. And more power to you, brother. 3-2 the count on Boone. Malone is not allowed to hit thus far. And there's ball 4. It's his second walk of the game. Right now, let's go to Keith Olbermann in our Fox Network Center.
Tom, don't let Steve fool you. He was just trying to get away from me. Yankees and the White Sox, and the Yankees are trying to get away from their losing streak. Jake Westbrook's major league debut, Magglio Ordonez homer, and then Chris Singleton's infield pop and Derek Jeter, whatever it is, it's catching, and the Yankees are not happy about it. 6-0 Chicago in the 3rd, Tom.
Keith, thank you very much. Well, not only are the Yankees struggling, but I think more impressive what the Chicago White Sox are doing this season. I mean, right now, you could make a very strong argument that the Chicago White Sox are the best team in baseball.
And they're really getting it done. We talked about it in the pregame show earlier today with youth and an attitude adjustment. Last year, they had no chemistry. Frank Thomas and their manager, Jerry Manuel, they work things out now. They're getting along very, very well now, and it's rubbing off on the team. They do have some problems, though. They're worst in the league in fielding. They make a lot of errors. They made a lot of errors last year. As we talked about with these 2 clubs, that can catch up with you over the course of a season.
But the thing that is so impressive about that White Sox team, they went into Cincinnati when the Reds were in first. They swept Cincinnati there. Then they come back home and they take 2 out of 3 against the Cubs. They then go to Cleveland, sweep the Indians at Jacobs Field, and they have not lost a game in the Bronx for the last 2 days, and Keith just told you already a 6-0 lead today.
And when you have a team with as young a pitching staff as they have, the only thing that's going to get you through a season is your confidence level. And when you can come in and beat the best teams in baseball, that tells you that you can play with them, and that just, your confidence soars after that.
2-0 on Carlos Hernandez. Boone a short lead over at first. Nobody out. A 1-0 ball game. And that one chopped foul.
Talked a lot about Adam Eaton and his performance so far today, but how about Ron Vallone on the mound? This guy a football mentality guy, a former tight end, 240 pounds out there. When he takes his stretch, he's almost like Hans and Franz from Saturday Night Live saying, I'm going to pump you up. Look at him right there saying, go ahead. What do you got for me? Because I got something for you. Kind of a bulldog type appearance and style to the way he pitches. Throws everything hard fastball, hard slider. Doesn't throw the velocity on his fastball. Never gets more than 91, 92. But pretty good movement. And as we talked about before with Eaton, good location.
2-1 delivery. And it just inside. 3 balls and a strike. So a good hitter's count to Carlos Hernandez. Balone has been pretty efficient thus far. Generally a very high pitch count. In a hurry for Balone because generally he's 3-1, 3-2, walks a lot of batters, but so far today he's only walked 2. He's not allowed a hit, and Don Gullo, the Cincinnati pitching coach, keeping an eye on his left-hander. 3 balls and a strike, and here it comes to Hernandez on the ground. Boone, a slick play at third to Reese for 1, and they turn the double play. It doesn't get much better than that.
The center fielder, number 28.
This is an unbelievable play by Boone down at third because of the reverse pivot. Watch the way he turns his back to the infield. Backhanding his ball. You can't turn all the way around. You go the other way like he does right there. Much quicker to second base. Good throw to Pokey Reese at second. And if Reese gets the ball in time to throw someone out, you can forget about it. Watch it again as Boone turns all the way around. Why spin back the other way to throw? Turn your back to the field. You know where second base is. Make a good throw there. And look at this is not even a close play at all.
70th double play turn this season by the Cincinnati Reds. That is second in the National League, only to Milwaukee's 71. They are very, very sound defensively, with the exception of Casey, who's average, if not a little bit below, over at first. That ball hammered deep into left field. We have a tie game. First hit of the game for San Diego produces a run. Ruben Rivera is 6th.
And it's a loud hit, and this is a mistake. You see that ball out over the plate again. This ball's supposed to be down by around his knees inside, and this is the kind of production that they've wanted from Ruben Rivera many, many more times with 34 strikeouts and 125 at-bats. As you mentioned earlier in the game, way too many times going up there swinging and missing. He didn't miss that time.
Jr., the home run in the Cincinnati 3rd. Rivera, a solo home run in the Padres 5th. And that's another $55,000 raised for Cap Cure. Line right back to Balone, who knocks it down and throws out the runner. Well, there's that bulldog mentality you were talking about by Balone. But he serves up the home run to Ruben Rivera. At the end of 5, it's a 1-1 affair. Our multi-award-winning rendition of the A&W Fan Can. That little fella disappointed after the home run by Ruben Rivera.
Looks a little bit like Sean Casey.
One game here in the top half of the 6th inning. Ron Balone took a bullet. It looked like he got him right in the belly.
I'll tell you what, you know, he's a former tight end at UMass, and he treated that ball coming back at him like some linebacker trying to block him on his way out on a pattern. He said, forget about it. I'll knock it down and throw you out.
Dimitri Young, Sean Casey, Aaron Boone due up here in the red 6, and Eaton paints the inside corner. Fouled off up the first base line. Take a look at that line drive again off the bat of Damian Jackson and Ron Balone.
pretty good fielding position, but that ball got on him so quick. The only thing I would have done differently was charge it. You know, you got to charge those times.
I couldn't agree with you more.
You know, we said Vallone, a former football player, he put the helmet on him with the face mask right there, and his eye holes there, and you could be part of Howie's tough guys. It's hard to draw a football helmet on a guy who's looking at his profile.
You did a pretty good job there, though. High bouncer off the point. And Sprague will beat Young to the bag. One away.
First baseman, number 21, Sean Casey.
We know Aaron Boone's a tough guy. We showed you that clip from earlier this week when he was hit on the bill of the cap, broke his nose on a fastball by Russ Ortiz of the Giants. Took one day off and then right back in the lineup.
Well, it was nice to see that he stood up and walked off the field after that happened, because it could have been much, much uglier.
Sean Casey looks at ball one. Casey is bounced to short. He's lined out to third. 1 run, 4 hits, 6 men left on base for Cincinnati. The Padres, 1 run, 1 hit, 1 man left. Fastball away, and it's 2-0 on Casey. A season ago, Casey led the National League with 66 multi-hit games. He's trying to find that same stroke again here in 2000. Batting average only at .232. 3-0.
I think what's going to get Sean Casey back to his form is using the field a little bit more, thinking more about hitting line drives over the shortstop's head. We did see him go the other way earlier in the game. When he starts getting base hits the other way is when you know he'll be back.
Two-year-old looks in, gets a sign, and here's a 3-1, and there's strike 2 called on the outside corner to Casey. How hard is it for a team, Steve, to see a guy for the first time? Clearly, that's what it's going to be for just about all the clubs in the National League against Eaton. As Casey lifts this one into right center field, it's going to fall for a base hit, knocked down by Owen. Casey a big turn at first, and here comes a throw back that way, and he's able to get back.
This is the kind of baseball that I love to see, Tommy. Once you got a guy out here, Casey, taking the ball down and in and just roping it into right field. You have the right fielder out there trying to make a great catch. And watch Casey rounding first base here. Had to hustle to get back, but I'll tell you what, he was waiting to see if that ball had any bobble, anything that would go wrong out there. He was going to be standing on second base, and that's what you want to see every player in the game do. Great hustle on both ends. And Eric Owens out there trying to dive for the ball, trying to make a play, getting himself dirty. You got Sean Casey rounding first base as hard as you can.
Now Aaron Boone, who has struck out swinging and looking, and there's strike 1 on the outside corner. Lifted into straightaway center field. Ruben Rivera able to go out there and get it for the second out of the inning. Talked already about Aaron Boone playing against his older brother Brett Boone here today. Very much a baseball family. Their father, Bob Boone, a special assistant to the general manager, Jim Bowden, in Cincinnati. Great catcher over nearly a 20-year career. And then Aaron and Brett's grandfather, Ray Boone, a long-time outstanding major league player.
If you look at the brothers there, too, we talked about home run potential. Or I think that Bob Boone figured that Brett would always hit more home runs than Aaron would, but I almost think that he has more potential to have a little bit more power than Brett does because he's a little lankier. I think he has a chance to become a little bit stronger, even though Brett is put together pretty good for a shorter guy. I think he'll strike out less and have the potential to hit more home runs. Right now, tied for second on the team in home runs.
Fouled out of play by Santiago. And when the Padres went out and made the trade acquiring Brett Boone during the offseason, on opening day, their home opener, they had 3 generations throw out the first pitch. Ray, then Bob. And they finally capped it off with Brett Boone joining Dad and Granddad on this Father's Day weekend. We remember that. Santiago pops it up into foul ground. Brett Boone coming over to help out, but Sprague takes care of it. And the inning is over. 1 hit, 1 left. Pitchers duel today. It's a 1-1 game.
Brought to you by CDW. CDW, computing solutions built for business.
Back in San Diego, 1-1 ball game, bottom of the 6th inning. And Steve, we were talking about Father's Day, and of course my father, 28 years, longtime voice of the Cincinnati Reds. I'd like to wish him a happy Father's Day. And Dad, I love you, and we cannot wait until your induction ceremony into the Baseball Hall of Fame later this summer. Well, you talk about a Cincinnati Reds party, if you will. My father, Marty Brennaman, will be inducted to the Hall of Fame. Sparky Anderson, the longtime manager of the Reds, will be inducted. Tony Perez, their former great first baseman, will be inducted. And, of course, although he has long since passed, a 4th Cincinnati Red will be inducted. Vid McPhee, who played for the Reds back in the late 1800s, was considered the best defensive second baseman in the 19th century.
And certainly well-deserved for the first 3, but I wasn't really around to see Vid play.
No, I wasn't either.
That's what I'll tell you what, your father, talk about a guy who bleeds the colors of his team.
Number 8, Eric Owens.
So happy Father's Day, Dad. Ryan Ballone has only allowed 1 hit through 5 1/3 innings. He has struck out 3 and walked only 2. And Adam Eaton has matched him nearly pitch for pitch. Eaton has only given up 5 hits and 1 run. There's a strike. And Steve, I started to ask you a little while ago, when you see a guy for the first time, is it safe to say the pitcher has the advantage?
I think he does, because as a hitter, you don't know what he has. And even if the scouting report tells you what kind of pitches he has, he's a fastball, slider, curveball guy, you don't know how good his curveball breaks. You don't know how nasty his slider is. Or the opposite. You don't know if you're looking for a real nasty slider and the guy hangs it all the time. That can surprise a hitter equally as well. And when the sheet says he throws 92, sometimes that doesn't mean anything to you until you see how he throws 92.
Well, Eric Owens able to bloop one into right field. Owens, his first hit in 3 at-bats. And he represents a go-ahead run for the Padres here in the 6th. And Owens can run. 17 stolen bases. He has been thrown out 8 times.
It'll be a little tougher to run on Ballone as well. The lefty, generally guys, especially a guy like Eric Owens, who doesn't have a lot of experience against all type of pitching in the major leagues, because he's getting really his first opportunity to play on an everyday basis, has to be a little bit more cautious. But this is the time in the game where you need to be aggressive and try to steal the win here.
Al Martin is 0 for 2, and he swings and fouls it back out of play. Well, if you're the Padres, you have the right man at the plate if you're trying to avoid the double play. Take a look at that. 225 at-bats. Al Martin has not bounced into a double play. You're wondering, as you see, it's tied for second best in the National League, second to Rondell White. White coming off a 4-hit, 2-home-run game at Wrigley Field yesterday in Chicago. On the appeal, Martin did not go around. 1 ball, 1 strike. Get a look at some of the other scores around baseball. They're still scoreless in Los Angeles. Giants have been playing much better baseball of late. Dusty Baker's team trying to get back in the race in the National League West. Only 5.5 games separates first place Arizona from 4th place San Francisco. The Padres bringing up the bottom part of the division, 10.5 games back of Arizona.
They talk about speed and how it helps a ball club put itself in a scoring position in a situation with Owens on first, a chance to steal a base. Ballone is doing a great job of showing him different moves both to first and to home. He's thrown over a couple times. He's held the ball a couple times. He's got a quick move. There's a step-off move. 4 different pitches. He's shown 4 different moves, and that will hold a base runner more than anything else because he doesn't have a chance to see the same move twice and gauge what you're going to do. Show him different moves, even if you don't throw over. Sometimes your most effective move to first base is when you throw a pitch to home.
1-2. Fouled back to the screen. I've heard Bob Brenly also say a number of times in all the games we worked together, Steve, and you were a guy that could run in your career, and Bob has felt if you don't have a good move, then don't show the runner you have a bad move.
That's exactly right. Don't show it if you don't have a good one, and if you have to develop 2 or 3 different moves. There's no reason for you not to. If you have a bad move, throw the ball at home plate.
This could be the first double play ball off the bat of Martin in 228 at-bats, and it is. How about that? We go to the 7th, 1-1 game. Back after this word from your local Fox station. Look at our 7-11 game summary. Solo home runs by Griffey and Rivera. And the starting pitchers have been stingy outside of those 2 home runs. Boy, both have been very, very impressive here today. So impressive that Ballone is going to bat to begin the 7th. And there's a strike from Adam Eaton.
We talked about how Jack McKeon loves to go down to his bullpen, but there's no reason to do that right now with Ballone pitching in the way he's doing it.
Hits that ball pretty hard, and Rivera able to race back and make the catch up above his head. 1 gone. I started to mention earlier, it's oftentimes when you hear about a trade, it may be a team that you're following. And if you're more than just a casual fan, perhaps if you had known a little bit about the Philadelphia Phillies, you had heard of Carlton Lower or Steve Montgomery, a couple of guys that had pitched in the major leagues the last couple of years for the Phillies. Lower, a highly touted prospect. But undoubtedly, there's no way the trade is ever made by the Padres unless they get this guy in the deal, not the other 2.
And a guy that most of the public has never heard of before. He's down in the minor leagues. He's a prospect. He's a first-round pick. And you look at the way that deal is shaping up right now. Andy Ashby, I think, wants out of Philadelphia. This kid's pitching very well. And the other 2 guys in the deal, Montgomery and Lower, as you said, both hurt as well and not pitching.
Eaton had made 76 minor league appearances, 75 starts in over 4 minor league seasons with Philadelphia. You include his 4-1 record in the Padres system this year, as that was a strike on the inside corner. 29-25 with a 3.7 ERA. In 427 minor league innings, had only given up 26 home runs. Pretty impressive.
That's hitting some corners.
Bouncing ball back up through the middle. Damian Jackson cuts it off and throws out Reese for out number 2.
And I think one of the things that gets overlooked in baseball is that drafting players is never an exact science. Sometimes you have guys that you draft in the first round, they never sniff the big leagues. Other times you have guys like Bill Russell, who was never drafted and was a shortstop for the Dodgers for years and years and years, and never even played high school baseball.
Eaton now has reached triple digits in pitches with 105. And now Larkin with 2 down and nobody on in the Reds' 7th inning of strength.
To take that example even a step further by mentioning the fact that I was a first-round draft pick and I stunk at the major league level.
Oh, now come on. Come on. You don't hang around as long as you do if you're stinking up the place. There's a bouncing ball. Nevin able to cut it off. And the inning is over. A perfect 7th for Adam Eaton. What a job he's done today. It's a 1-1 ball game. Beginning for San Diego. They have 3, 4, and 5 due up in their batting order against Ron Valone. A 1-1 ball game here at Qualcomm. And it's ball one high and away to Sprague, who is flying to right center and flying out to the left fielder, Dimitri Young.
And if you're Jack McKeon in this inning, this is where you start to look for your starting pitcher, Ron Valone, to start to lose the velocity and the location of his pitches. If he starts to do that, you go to your bullpen.
Little flare off the end of the bat's going to fall in for a base hit. So the go-ahead run aboard to begin the San Diego 7th inning.
We talked about how Ron Valone would hold players on when they got on base. Here he is holding the ball for a long time, then makes the throw. Show the players a lot of different moves. Here's a step-off snap throw over to first, and then finally hold the ball for a while, deliver to the plate. He can show the runners over there a bunch of different moves. Makes it a lot tougher to steal. It makes it a lot tougher to put hit-and-run plays on. It makes it a lot tougher for the hitter to time your pitches as well.
Now Phil Nevin, he has struck out swinging and popped up the junior in center field. Pops this one up into foul ground, and that one will drift in amongst the fans. Nevin down a strike.
Looking at the middle of the order here for the San Diego Padres, you don't expect things to be putting on. Nevin doesn't run very well. Sprague doesn't run very well. This is the guy who leads your team in home run and production categories. You let him stand up there and hack. You're not going to see Sprague be in motion anywhere. No hit and runs in this situation.
0-1 on Phil Nevin, and Valone delivers up and in, even the count at 1 ball and 1 strike. About a 3-foot lead over at first. This one down to third should be too easily, and it is. 5-4-3 around the horn double play. The second turn today by Cincinnati. And right now, for a game break, let's return to Keith Olbermann in our Fox Network Center.
Tom, do the St. Louis Cardinals have the look of a playoff team or what? An 0-2 pitch to J.D. Drew in the 5th from Darren Driver to the Dodgers with 2 men on board. Andy Bennett seeking his first win at Dodger Stadium since '89. 3-0 Cards, bottom 5.
Keith, thank you very much. You get a look at the standings. Cincinnati 5.5 back of St. Louis going into play today. You know, the one thing about St. Louis that should be noted, the Cardinals this season have only played 25 games against teams with a winning record. And they have only won 9 of the 25 games. So they have very much had the schedule in the early part of this season in their favor in terms of the competition. Now, it goes back to the old adage about you have to beat up on the teams you're supposed to beat up on, and the Cardinals clearly have done that.
But you got to be competitive against the teams that are as good as you, too. If you don't do that, you won't be one of those teams.
It's the 4th worst winning percentage among all teams in Major League Baseball playing against teams 500 or better.
You are a master of the statistics.
Well, it's my main man here, Mark Wagner. Daddy Wags, he's known in Cincinnati. That one taken high, 3 balls and a strike to Brett Boone. But it is interesting, and there are some critical games coming up between Cincinnati and St. Louis. 2 series they will lock up between now and the All-Star break. On the ground at Barry Larkin. He'll gobble it up, and that's that in the San Diego 7th. 1 hit, nobody left. We go to the 8th, still tied at 1, and the Boppers coming up for the Reds. Top half of the 8th inning we go here in San Diego. It's a 1-1 affair. We welcome those of you watching the Dodgers and the Cardinals. Some big sluggers in that one, including Mark McGwire of St. Louis. Same story here in San Diego, where Ken Griffey Jr. will lead off the Reds' 8th inning. A 1-1 ball game, and Jr. accounted for the lone Cincinnati run back in the 3rd inning. And there are strikes even to count.
There is the home run by Ken Griffey Jr., and we all knew it as soon as he hit it.
19 on the season for Junior. He takes that one down and in. 2 balls and a strike. It also marked the 1,200th career run batted in for Junior. 1,200 RBIs. He's 30 years old. Strike called on the outside corner to even the count.
Tremendous production. You talk about the home run numbers. You talk about what he can do for you as a club, but how many times he drives in runners with just his everyday appearances at the plate. Doesn't have to go out of the yard to drive in runs.
Well, Junior and the Reds trailing the Cardinals by 5.5 in the Central. Here's a 2-2 pitch, and that one's low and away.
Well, we talked about Ron Vallone and this time of the game and how the managers would have to start watching their pitchers. Eaton has never gone 8 innings at the major leagues in his 4th start. You certainly have to start watching him.
3-2 pitch, and there's ball 4 to Ken Griffey Jr. The second time he's been walked in the game here today.
Right fielder, number 9, Dante Bichette.
Well, you mentioned a moment ago, Steve, when Ed Sprague reached first to begin the 7th inning in a 1-1 game, it's time to be aggressive. And very much a part of Ken Griffey Jr.'s game outside of the bat and the glove is the ability to steal a base.
And Junior doesn't steal bases just to steal bases. He saves his opportunities for times like this when you need a big stolen base. Junior, just 29, 30 years old, as many years in the game. He's one of the oldest 30-year-old players you'll ever have. He was in the big leagues when he was 19. He conserves his energy, conserves the times where he thinks it's a good time to steal bases. He could steal 30, 35, 40 bases every year if that was asked of him. But it's not as much as it used to. Steal a base when you need it.
Well, Dave Smith, a long conversation out there on the mound with Adam Eaton. They have Carlos Almanzar, a right-hander, Kevin Walker, a left-hander, ready in the bullpen. And now the home plate umpire, Alfonso Marquez, coming out to break up the meeting. No signal given as of yet to make a pitching change. Although Marquez is allowing this meeting to go on longer than you normally would see, and apparently they're going to stick with Adam Eaton for the time being.
I like the fact that he let it go on a little bit longer. I think he realizes the situation here with a young pitcher making his 4th start in the major leagues. Smith wants to go out there, make sure he understands what he's up against here. And the umpire in that case lets that happen. He gets out there, says, what's the problem here? Let me hear what you got to do, and then let's go back to business. Umpires don't have to just walk out halfway and yell at the guy, hey, let's go.
Well, Griffey with a good lead at first. Dante Bichette quickly down a strike. Junior on the season, 5 stolen bases. He's only been thrown out 1 time. Pretty good lead over there by Ken Griffey Jr. at first. We talked a little while ago about Al Martin had not bounced into a double play in 228 at-bats, and he promptly did it. Dante Bichette leads the National League, having bounced into 11 double plays so far this year. Quick snap throw by Hernandez to first. And Griffey back, 1-1 on Dante Bichette.
This is all the more reason to have Junior in motion.
Dave Collins, the Cincinnati first base coach, he knows plenty about stealing bases. That one way inside. Dave Collins, during his major league career, stole 395 bases. On to Bichette. Griffey not running, and it's ball 3 down low. So perhaps, as you brought up a moment ago, perhaps Eaton now taking the ball, climbing the mound here in the 8th, beginning to lose a little steam.
Now he has to throw a strike in a great hitter situation. Good hitter at the plate. Junior either wants to be stealing on a pitch that he thinks is a breaking ball or a good hitting situation.
3-1. Junior runs, pitch taken, a strike, throw down to second base, and he's out at second base. Out for San Diego.
And give some credit right there to Carlos Hernandez with the great throw. Check out Junior, see what kind of jump he is. Pretty good jump right there. He takes a peek in, tough throw to handle. The ball's up a little bit. Nice tag by Boone, getting it down there, and tags him on the knee, but it does look like he gets him before Junior's foot hits the bag.
And then Bichette strikes out. So just like that, it goes from 1 on and nobody out to none on and 2 men out.
Well, you talk about a reprieve for a young pitcher. You get the throw out and then a high fastball up in the zone. Actually, that looked like more like a hanging slider that Bichette can't figure out how he missed that one.
Remains a 1-1 game. 2 down, none on for Dimitri Young. 1 of 3 today. Fastball blown away.
Pitchers will talk about throwing a backup slider, which is a slider that just kind of spins and hangs there and it doesn't do what you want it to do, and those are the pitches that generally get hammered. David Cohn was the first guy that I ever heard of that said that occasionally he wants to throw a backup slider, throw one that will surprise a hitter so much by not doing what you think it's going to do that you can't hit it, and that's, I think, what happened to Dante Bichette right there.
Hit down the left field line, and that is a foul ball by about a foot.
Look how close that ball is to the line. It would have been a sure double, and Dimitri knows a little bit about that, hitting 48 doubles last year, 3rd most in the history of the Reds franchise.
Here's the 1-2 pitch. And that one bounces up there to even the count on Dimitri Young. We're looking ahead of the San Diego 8th inning. It'll be Carlos Hernandez, Ruben Rivera, and Damian Jackson. No activity in the Cincinnati bullpen. Ball 3. Casey waits in the on-deck circle. Bruce Bochy double-checking to see if Kevin Walker, the left-hander, is ready. Ball 4, 2nd walk of the inning. And the 5th in the game issued by Adam Eaton. So now will Bochy elect to make the change and bring in the left-hander Walker to face left-handed batting Sean Casey? And the answer is yes. So we'll take a break in the action. What a marvelous outing today by the 22-year-old right-hander Adam Eaton. He leaves with a score tied at 1. A runner at first and 2 outs, and he'll get a huge ovation from the crowd here in San Diego. Boy, how good does this kid look now in 4 major league starts? See the numbers on Eaton, a new career high, 7 strikeouts. He leaves with Dimitri Young on at first base and 2 away. And not a bad guy to talk about how to approach hitters if you're Eaton sitting next to Tony Gwynn.
Tony Gwynn sitting there right there saying, you know what? Even I couldn't have hit you today.
He's probably right. So now Walker on to face Sean Casey, and it's up and in. And what a find Walker has been as you look at his numbers so far this season.
Using him in a situation where he has to come in and get left-handers out. He's been doing that. His walks to strikeout ratio is very, very good. He keeps the ball in the park.
And he has thrown 11 2/3 of consecutive shutout innings out of the bullpen. Two 2-0 on Sean Casey. And a check swing on a pitch up. 3 balls and no strikes. Casey 0 for 3 in his career against Walker. And you figure this is the only batter Walker is going to face. You have right-handed batting, Aaron Boone on deck. Right-handed pitching, Carlos Almanzar throwing in the pen.
When you look at the situation in the middle of the order of the Cincinnati Reds, I like Bruce Bochy letting Eaton stay out there until he got to the point where Casey was hitting, bringing the lefty to face him. Junior, Bichette, Sean Casey, you add Dimitri Young in there. Worst average in the National League, 240. Third worst RBI production of 113 RBIs between them. Middle of that order has really not been getting it done for the Cincinnati Reds all season long.
Walker, after falling behind 3-0, is gone the distance on Casey. It's 3 balls and 2 strikes. Cincinnati and San Diego tied at 1. The runner Young gets started on the pitch. And here it comes. Bouncing ball, right side. Boone is there, and the inning is over. 2 walks, 1 man left. Adam Eaton applauds Walker as it stays tied at 1. Welcome back to San Diego. And what a ball game we have here today. 1-1 in front of 40,730 fans at Qualcomm. Adam Eaton goes 7 2/3, allows 5 hits and 1 run for the Padres. Ron Balone has gone 7 innings, allowed 3 hits and 1 run for Cincinnati.
Balone into uncharted territory here as he's gone 7 innings twice this year in his 13 starts. Never in his career has he had a complete game.
Scott Williamson beginning to crank it up in the Cincinnati bullpen. It'll be Hernandez, Ruben Rivera, Damian Jackson, then the pitcher spot should we get that far. Here's a 1-0. Good foul. And you got to wonder what Jack McKeon may elect to do after Hernandez. Bear in mind, Ruben Rivera, back in the 3rd inning, hit a ball a mile. It was foul. Balone wound up striking him out. And then Rivera kept it fair down the left field line into the 2nd deck in the 5th inning. Line ball to straightaway center field. Room out there for Junior, and he'll run her down. 1 away right now. Let's send it back to Keith Olbermann for a game break.
Tom, the nightmare season of Chuck Knobloch just got a little worse. Not only has he made a throwing error into the stands at Yankee Stadium, but the person he hit with that throw was my mother. Mom has been to about 600 games in her lifetime at Yankee Stadium. She's okay. There you see she got grazed by it in the nose and then left to consult with our attorneys, no doubt. The Yankees are also losing.
Well, Keith, thank goodness your mom is okay. That's a baseball thing.
Yeah, for the first time in my life, I'm speechless on something like that.
That's unbelievable.
It just absolutely is. I mean, my brothers show up at the game and they dress like Reds fans. His mother gets hit at a game.
Line into left center field, so Balone stays in there to face Rivera. And he singles into left center, representing the go-ahead run with 1 out here in the bottom of the 8th inning.
Number 2, Damian Jackson.
I mentioned the futility of the middle of the order as far as the Reds were concerned. The back half of the batting order for the San Diego Padres is the worst in the National League. Have not produced at all, but Rivera, the one guy in this lineup that's getting it done, accounted for the only run with the home run.
That one gets away from Casey, and Rivera is going to advance. That is the 3rd error this season by Ron Balone. And the go-ahead run is in scoring position. Of the 8th inning, and Damian Jackson, a former Red, the batter, takes outside for ball 1.
Now, a lot of people don't think that the first base coach does a whole lot down there, but on that pickoff throw, the only one that could see the ball squirt away was the first base coach, Alan Trammell. He's the one that told Rivera to go right away. The ball only bounced 15 feet away from Casey, but because they all got a late jump on figuring out where it was, Trammell was able to help the base runners get to second base there.
Strike to even the count at 1-1. The first runner of the game to get into scoring position against Ron Balone through 7 1/3 innings today is Ruben Rivera. 1-1 game, bottom of the 8th inning here in San Diego, and it's a ball and a strike below to Damian Jackson. Chris Gomez moves into the on-deck circle with bat for Walker next. And the 1-1 pitch is taken high.
Gomez on the on-deck circle in this situation, especially for San Diego with the lefty on the hill. San Diego doesn't have a whole lot of bench strength as far as hitting the ball out of the ballpark. Ryan Klesko on the bench, but clearly doesn't hit lefties as well as he does righties.
2-1 delivery. And that pitch taken down low, and of course they have. Granted, not a home run hitter, but one of the great hitters in the history of baseball lurking on that bench as well in Tony Gwynn.
You put yourself in a position where you got a guy in scoring position, second or third base with Gwynn up there, then you don't need to hit the ball out of the park.
Big pitch right here. 3 balls and a strike to Damian Jackson with Rivera the lead run at second base. And Jackson chased a pitch that looked like it probably would have been ball 4.
Jackson has to understand the situation here. If the pitcher is hitting behind him, he has to be a little bit more aggressive. But knowing that the pitcher's not going to come up and hit here, you got to find a way to get on base right there.
Santiago hanging a sign below, nods his head in agreement. 3 balls, 2 strikes on Damian Jackson, and here it comes, and it's fouled out of play. Boy, the Reds really overplay defensively in the infield for Jackson to pull the ball. Sean Casey a good 30 feet off the first base line. Pokey Reese cheating back up the middle. Adam Eaton can't figure in the decision, but boy, what a job he did today.
Great pitching duel between both of these guys, and if you're wondering about Valone and his location, that last pitch was nasty.
3-2. Again, fouled out of play into the seats.
Valone's had the type of day where you can't let him off the hook. Jackson swung at ball 4. That pitch there may have been out of the strike zone, but if you give Valone that many chances to come back and get you out, the type of game that he's pitched today, he'll take advantage of that.
Valone toes the rubber, looks in for the sign. The go-ahead run is Rivera at second base. 3-2 with 1 out to Damian Jackson. The pause, a check of Rivera back there, and here it comes. And again, fouled back out of play. Better cut that time by Jackson. On a day and age when baseballs are flying out of every ballpark in the major leagues, you really have to tip your cap to both these starting pitchers here today. Win, lose, or draw. Three and 2 on Jackson. Rivera his lead at second. And another foul ball. So Jackson hanging around. He's fouled off 4 straight pitches.
That's the last thing that Valone wants to see right now, is a guy who's going to foul pitches off. Already thrown more than 100 pitches in the game. Wants to get a quick out somehow.
Rivera the lead at second base. He's dancing around back there, and it prompts Valone to back off the rubber. Ruben Rivera can really run. Not a great base stealer, not even a good base stealer, but he can fly. Again, the 3-2 pitch to Damian Jackson. And it's ball 4 down and in. A 9-pitch at bat there by the San Diego shortstop. So let's see if Jack McKeon will make the change. He has Williamson ready in the bullpen. 2 on, 1 out here in the bottom half of the 8th inning.
Take a good look at Valone right there, not looking around. We talked about pitchers in the game today after they throw 6 or 7 innings. They can't wait for someone else to come in and take over for him. He hasn't looked over his shoulder. He hasn't looked at the bullpen, hasn't looked into the dugout. He wants this game. He wants to finish it, or at least finish this inning with guys on.
Well, he's not going to get that chance. Don Gullett will check in, and that signifies some kind of double switch that will be made when you stop and visit with a home plate umpire. An outstanding effort by Ron Valone. He leaves with 2 on, 1 out in the 8th of a 1-1 game. Bring you up to date at the Napa home run race around the major leagues. Barry Bonds, most in the majors at 26. Ken Griffey Jr. today hit number 19. His club involved in a 1-1 game here in the bottom of the 8th inning. With 2 down, 1 out, 2 on. Couple of changes. Michael Tucker is part of the double switch, enters and plays left field. Dimitri Young moves from left to first. And now on the pitch, it'll be hard throwing Scott Williamson. And they're standing and cheering as Tony Gwynn is announced as the pinch hitter. Ruben Rivera, the go-ahead run at second base. And there's a fastball outside, 1-0 to Gwynn. 0 for 1 as a pinch hitter this season. See the numbers on Williamson, 73 strikeouts in 49 innings. But also a high walk total. Williamson an all-star a season ago. 2 balls and no strikes.
We talked about the strength of the bench for San Diego, and that's the guy that you want to have up there in the late innings if you need a base hit.
See, Gwynn has been tearing it up since coming off the disabled list, batting .378. And he has a 2-0 count from Williamson with 2 on and 1 away. And there's ball 3 high.
I think everyone in the house knew that Gomez was up there for a decoy to get Valone out of the game, and when they went to the right-handed pitcher at that time, which is the move you have to make because Valone was fading, pretty much figured on seeing Tony Gwynn.
3-0 to Gwynn. And there's a strike. Williamson, the first 26 games of this season, looked like the All-Star and the National League's rookie from a season ago. He had an earned run average of 1.5. But now, over his last 7 games, the earned run average over 6.5. Still among the nastiest relievers in all the game. 3-1 to Gwynn. Runners go, and a line drive center field. San Diego has taken the lead.
Again, he's the only guy in the house that wanted to see that ball be called a strike on the 3-0 pitch. Fastball, middle away, classic Tony Gwynn swing. You see the balance as he opens up his hips and his bat angles through this hitting zone right there. Nobody does it better than Tony Gwynn. There's your starting pitcher, a guy that doesn't figure in the win or loss, but doesn't matter. He knows that his efforts are not wasted.
Corey DeHaan comes in to run for Tony Gwynn. So San Diego takes a 1-run lead, and there's another base hit into center. This one by Owens. Scoring is Jackson, and the Padres lead 3-1.
What you have to do with a guy who throws hard is think back up the middle. That's what Tony Gwynn did. That's what Owens does right here. He hit a ball where nobody's standing. He drive the ball up the middle. Now you're leading 3-1. Tough to see anybody lose this ball game, but what an offensive show and a great display of hitting from two of the most popular San Diego Padres all of a sudden.
Now Al Martin, the batter, and he rolls one foul, so blows the book on Balone. He goes 7 1/3 innings. When he left, he had allowed just 4 base hits and only 1 run. But Williamson comes in, gives up the big hit to Tony Gwynn, breaking the 1-1 tie. Owens follows with an RBI single. 3 earned runs against Ron Balone. A ball and a strike.
Now, the Padres are not the team they were 2 years ago, but check this out, the reaction when Tony Gwynn comes up and drives the ball up the middle for the go-ahead run right there.
Trevor Hoffman is ready in the bullpen. That one on the outside corner, 1-2.
Bruce Bochy's the type of manager that will not let his players just sail through a season not playing as well as they'd hoped, but that kind of intensity on a game like this, when you get a big run and late in the game, you see the type of reaction that you get from your teammates, still shows you that these guys are showing up to play hard every day.
Swing and a miss, and Martin out of there on strikes for the second out of the inning. Going for Cincinnati, the beat goes on for what has been a frustrating 2.5 months so far. When you're pitching well, you're not hitting. When you're hitting, you're giving up a ton of runs.
We go back to what Barry Larkin said earlier, is the fact that we're playing just well enough to get beat. He says the intensity's there, everything's there, we're playing hard, but for some reason we can find a way to lose a game.
And Sprague looks at a strike.
Sprague, with the way he stands at the plate, that stance reminds me of Mickey Tettleton. The way he used to stand up there, almost hands locked against his hips, almost like he doesn't care. He does.
That one knocked down by Santiago to even the count of a ball and a strike. Really, until this 8th inning. Of course, they got the home run by Rivera in the 5th. San Diego never even threatened. When Rivera got to second in this 8th inning, we told you it was the first runner in scoring position against Balone all day. Cincinnati has left 8 men on base through 8 innings. And yet the Padres break through here in the bottom of the 8th and lead 3-1, and that one high and tight to Sprague. 2 balls and a strike.
Now, with the way he stands and how hard Williamson throws the ball, he's going to have to cheat a little bit, I think, to get out in front of one of these fastballs. Watch him start to get into his batting stance as Williamson goes into his motion.
With Tony Gwynn, there's a possibility that Gwynn could become a free agent at the end of this season. There's an option that would kick in if he reached 502 plate appearances. That is not going to happen. As much time as he's missed already.
I think people wonder why 502 plate appearances, but that's the number that you need to qualify for a batting title. Certainly Tony Gwynn does that on a yearly basis, but he probably will not reach there. 8 batting titles for Tony Gwynn over the years. Unbelievable.
2-2 on Ed Sprague. Williamson a check of the runners, and here's a pitch. Fouled off, and it really, much like the Larkin situation, although Larkin much younger and still very much an outstanding all-around player in the field running the bases, Gwynn does not bring that to the table anymore. And there's been a lot of talk here in San Diego. Gwynn, a native of this area, played collegiately here, his entire career here, but do you bring him back if he's going to miss time due to injuries or if he can't play defense? Well, I mean, it's a no-win situation for everybody involved. I'm glad you and I don't make those decisions.
And I never will have to. The thing with Gwynn, as you mentioned, is you're going to have to bring him back at a huge salary.
So Williams gets out of the inning, but not before allowing the go-ahead single to Tony Gwynn. They love him here in San Diego. Certainly one of the great sights and sounds in all of baseball here at Qualcomm Stadium. A save situation. They play Hell's Bells by AC/DC, and that means one thing. Trevor Hoffman's coming in. The place gets loud in a hurry.
As well they should. This guy's been unbelievable, saving the only guy in the history of the game to save 90% of his save opportunities. 186 saves and 205 opportunities. That is getting it done.
Cincinnati, ninth inning. It'll be Aaron Boone. He'll be followed by Benito Santiago. More than likely we'll see Eddie Thom bat for him, and then Michael Tucker. 3-1 Padres. 1-1 Aaron Boone.
I think it's pretty well documented now over the last 3 or 4 seasons, but I think it's very funny that Trevor Hoffman has built his reputation as a very hard thrower, but his best pitcher, clearly, his best pitch is a changeup.
And of course, Hoffman originally a Cincinnati Red. Boone puts a charge into that one to left center, but room out there for Ruben Rivera. One away. Let's take a look at the American General play of the game delivered by Tony Gwynn. 1-1 tie.
Just another day at the office for Tony Gwynn. Hang out, come up in the bottom half of an inning where you need a drive in or run and just smoke one up the middle and then go sit back down again.
Not bad.
Thank you, game winner. Let's go home.
Eddie Thom will indeed bat for Santiago. Thom in his career 6 hits and 12 at-bats against Trevor Hoffman. Ball 1 down low. Thanks to the home runs today by Griffey Jr. and by Ruben Rivera. $110,000 has been raised for research for prostate cancer in our Cap Cure weekend. 1-1.
The thing that makes Trevor so tough is the fastball in the low to middle 90s, and then he comes back with that changeup with the same exact arm action. 10 miles an hour difference on the pitch for the changeup. Makes it unfair.
One and two on Thom. San Diego with a 2-run lead here in the ninth. And that's that for Thom. The Reds are down to their final out.
The pitch we talked about, the circle change. Look at a dive down and away from Thom with the same arm action as a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. You can forget about hitting that pitch. Hoffman pretty good at what Tommy John used to do, throw a lot of pitches that look like strikes, but they're not.
There's strike one to Michael Tucker. 40,730 on their feet here in San Diego as it's 0-2 on Michael Tucker. Well, this guy is so good, it's scary. I mean, look at those numbers for the Padres, leading after 8 since July of '96. 257 and 3.
That's dominating. Gets ahead in the count, and then he can just toy with you. High fastball, changeup.
Game over. Final score today, the Padres come up with 2 in the bottom of the 8th inning to beat Cincinnati by a final score of 3-1. Off Brennaman picking up his 16th save. And again today we have raised $2,805,000 in our Cap Cure Home Run Challenge. It's terrific on this Father's Day weekend. Psycho, enjoyed it, my friend.
Had a great time. Nice to get out at the ball yard.
Nice to have you with us. Our game produced by Jeff Gowan, directed by Jim Lynch. Our associate director, Larry Lancaster. Our broadcast associate is Michael Fitzgerald. The pregame produced by Gary Lang, directed by Bob Levy. Thanks to our technical producer, Craig Marlowe. The senior producer of Fox Sports is Bill Brown. The executive producers of Fox Sports are Ed Gorn and David Hill. Thanks to Stats in the Booth by Mark Wagner. So for Steve Lyons and our entire crew, I'm Thom Brennaman saying thanks so much for being with us. Padres win it 3-1 right now. Let's go to Keith Olbermann in our Fox Network Center. Happy Father's Day to the Dad.